Hey everybody, welcome back to Japan by Food's ramen series. I'm your host Frank, and I am now in Tokyo's glitzy Ginza neighborhood again. And it's very rainy. I clearly came prepared or unprepared with a smaller umbrella. I'm getting a little bit wet, but this rainy weather is perfect ramen weather. And the ramen shop we're featuring today is right behind me. They specialize in Tonkotsu Ramen or pork bone ramen. Silky smooth and authentic because they're actually from Fukuoka, where this style is from. Let's go inside and find out what they're all about. Follow me. All right, so got my 1,000 yen. Have our ticket machine here. It's a little bit fancier as well because you've got basically everything you can touch that aren't buttons, but basically a screen, touch screen. And there's English, Korean, as well as simplified and non-simplified Chinese. I'm gonna hit English here, so quite handy. So this is all Tonkotsu Ramen. So basically think of it as regular or spicy. I'm sticking with the regular or standard ramen, that's what they're known for, and I'm gonna be getting all toppings as well. There's the 1,000 yen going through.
Please wait.
Now you'll see on the ticket here that actually it mentions the firmness of the noodles. We've got yawa, kata, and buddy. This is what's unique about this style of ramen. You can actually choose how firm you want the noodles to be. So I'm going to be telling him to do katame, which is a little bit harder than normal. I think also because we're filming today, it's going to give a little bit more firmness to those noodles by the time we're done taking our photos and also the videos. お願いします。
麺の硬さは
固めでお願いします。ありがとうございます。Besides being able to choose how firm they are, these noodles are so thin that they don't really take any time at all to boil them. If you're getting, for example, katame, or more firm, we're only talking about a few seconds. Thick noodles can take anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes. These noodles, we're talking about under 20 seconds. And the reason that they do that is that this style of ramen, or Nagahama Ramen, basically, there's Nagahama and Hakata Ramen, both from Fukuoka. They've kind of blended together in recent years, but let's just say that in Nagahama, there's a fishing village there, and there are a lot of fishermen there. These fishermen wanted a quick bite to eat before going back to work. This is the reason why they made thin noodles. They're quick to prepare and quick to eat. All right, it's just arrived, and look at this, all the toppings. There's so many different colors going on. We've got green and red, reminds me of Christmas. We've also got brown here. I'll be describing all the toppings, of course, in full detail, but for now, I'm gonna start with the soup. It's so silky smooth, and there's a little bit of sweetness there from the seasoning. This is why it's not completely white in color. You've got a little bit of brown color going on, and that's with the soy sauce seasoning here. I almost have to push down the green negi or spring onions because there's so much going on with the toppings. I have to like really work to get that soup. Oh yeah, that's excellent. Very, very good. And another thing I want to point out is that, you know, with pork bone ramen, it can get pretty funky in terms of the smell. I'm talking about, you know, you walk in the restaurant, even a block away, you can really smell the pork bones. Depends on the style, depends on the shop, but here there's practically no smell. In other words, it's a very refined, smooth tasting pork bone ramen, packed with flavor, but without that funk, let's say. So I've got 2 mountains of vegetable toppings here to kind of sift through to get the noodles. But here we go with that noodle pull. Look at those beautifully thin noodles. So those noodles that I just ordered, you basically have the option of choosing how soft or firm they are. Now, I kind of went a little bit closer to more firm or katame. What is basically after that is buddy kata. And then there's even harigane. And this is a unique feature of this style of ramen, pork bone ramen. Now, if we're moving on to the toppings, we've got, yeah, again, a whole rainbow of toppings here. There is a mountain of green negi for nice refreshing crunch alongside those noodles. And for more crunch, there's also kikurage, or wood ear mushroom. Here in Fukuoka in particular, they like using wood ear mushrooms. Just like bamboo shoots, they have a nice crunchy texture. Now this baseball-sized red ball here is Mentaiko, or spicy cod roe. And this is famous in Fukuoka, Mentaiko. Now, I'm gonna grab a little bit with my chopsticks here and put it on top of the noodles. We're gonna get a contrast of flavors. Delicious. You've got a little bit of a spicy, fishy kick alongside that rich pork bone broth that kind of supercharges the broth a little bit. Nice contrast. We've got contrast of textures, contrast of flavors here in the same bowl. In this style of ramen, condiments are almost encouraged, I would say, compared to other ramen styles where condiments are not really a thing. There's some awesome condiments here on the table, which I'll introduce in a second. Before that, let's round out the toppings. We've got 3 sheets of seaweed. What I like to do is wrap my seaweed around the noodles, just like this, and you get a little bit of a different flavor. Kind of like a wrap. Delicious. Now, since I got all toppings, we've also got a nice egg here with what looks to be a very creamy center. Bottoms up. It's so beautifully jammy in the center. Just flavor just takes over. That beautifully rich and runny flavor, but not too runny. It's still fairly solid. Perfect, in other words. Okay, so I think the last topping here, we've got 2 slices of chashu pork. Nice and fatty. Definitely looks like a pork belly with the amount of fat. And here we go. A double pork chashu. Condiment number 1, we have here a little bucket of takana, or basically spicy mustard leaves, pickled mustard leaves, if you will. Got a fair amount of them on there, and I'm gonna have it with the noodles. Pretty hot. Yeah. Do be warned, they do pack a punch. Condiment number 2, we have an even bigger bucket here. Look at this thing. It's pretty heavy, actually, if you hold it up. Now these are beni shoga, or red pickled ginger. And I'm adding them to the soup here. And here we go with the beni shoga and the noodles. The beni shoga provide the greatest contrast with that creamy soup. It's a really sharp, kind of piercing through the broth flavor. Now the last, let's say, condiment I'm going to be adding, condiment number 3, is ground sesame seeds. Going to add a little bit of nuttiness to the broth, just a little bit. And this is a handy dandy sesame grinder, you could call it. You can get these at the 100 yen store here in Japan. All right, here with the sesame seeds. As expected, noticeably more nutty. The first time I said notably more noticeable. A little bit of a tongue twister there. I'm gonna try some of that soup because I do have a little bit of soup left over. Oh, it's good. It's funny, when I drink that soup though, that rich, warm flavor is still there. And it's just made more spicy by all the things I put inside. This ramen actually has food stall roots, and it's no different with YAMA-CHAN. They actually started in 1986 as a food stall. And then in 2002, they came to Tokyo with this shop. So also at the end of this place, it's called YAMA-CHAN. And chan is kind of an affectionate way to address someone, maybe if they're younger than you, often a child, for example. In my case, it would be Furanku-chan, my name plus chan, basically. But you see a lot of ramen shops in Fukuoka with chan at the end. You don't see these names in Tokyo. So when you see a chan at the end, it's a ramen shop, probably gonna be this style of ramen. Basically, it's not impossible, but it's harder in Tokyo to find authentic Fukuoka, or I should say Nagahama and Hakata style ramen. But this place is exactly where you can get it, and in the heart of Tokyo, here in Ginza. So if you're looking for that, richer leaning pork bone ramen, this is your place to go. I hope you enjoyed this video from Japan by Food and its ramen series. If you did, please hit that like button and also consider subscribing. You can also find more information about the tours I run in Tokyo, ramen tours of course. There's info in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next Japan by Food ramen series video.